What up, though, y'all? It's Chris, broadcasting to you from the D, and we got to talk about Riley Gaines. We're going to get right into the topic at hand. Her and Simone Biles exchanged brief words, though I think powerful words. You can tell me who you think is right or who's wrong. I'll give you my take on it. But apparently there's a school that has a softball team, if you will, and they have a trans player on it, which is controversial, and they're aware of that fact. And so when they posted a picture about the fact that they won, they had the comments turned off, and Riley Gaines had something to say about it, and then it went from there pretty much. So let me go ahead and shut that off, and I'll get into this for you guys. So this is a Minnesota State High School League. It says, meet Chaplin Park, the Class AAAA softball state champion for 2025. And as I said, they didn't have the comments turned off. They didn't have the comments turned on. They had them turned off. Riley Gaines said, comments off, LOL, to be expected when your star player is a boy. Right. I mean, really, that goes without saying. They have the comments off because they know that a lot of people are not going to like this, that you have a girls softball team featuring a boy. The boy is going to have strength and stamina that the girls do not have. This isn't a debate. This is a non-debate. I'm a man. I'm an athlete. And there is no way anybody could convince me that I don't have a strength, size, stamina, and frame advantage over a woman. Forget competing against a woman my age. I could still overthrow a woman younger than me because I went through my androgen phase, and those benefits, being testosterone, they can't be undone. So you could take as many pills as you want, trying to take estrogen or whatever. It does not undo you going through puberty. This is just simple science. People be like, trust the science, trust the science, trust the science. But then they ignore clear cut, very easy to understand science like this because reasons. Simone Biles responds, and let me start this, man. I feel like I need to preface this because y'all don't understand. This really saddens me. Simone Biles, I absolutely adore her, man. I always would watch her compete. She is the greatest gymnast I have ever seen. Not greatest female gymnast. She is the greatest gymnast I've ever seen. And I grew up watching Dominique Marciano, Dominique Dawes, Carrie Strug, Shannon Miller. All right, I grew up watching them, all right, who many consider the cream of the crop. And to me, she is better than all of them. She is that amazing. She, for me, is the gymnastics GOAT. I won't debate with nobody about it. She is. When you are someone that could take things that are difficult and make them look so easy, that is amazing. So yeah, felt like I needed to get that out there, man. So this isn't somebody being me that's hating on her. I absolutely adore her. However, just because you like somebody doesn't mean you can't disagree with some of their sentiments. People way too often, if it's somebody that they like, someone that they look up to, obviously I don't look up to her, but if it's somebody they like, somebody they respect, somebody they look up to, somebody they admire, whatever you want to put on it, no matter what they say, they will agree with them regardless of how out there it is. So she decided to comment at Riley Gaines, say, "You're truly sick. All of this campaigning because you lost a race. Straight up sore loser. You should be uplifting the trans community and perhaps finding a way to make sports inclusive or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Maybe a transgender category in sports." but instead you bully them. One thing's for sure is no one in sports is safe with you around. All right, so I'm gonna break that down a bit, because I don't disagree with everything that she said, but I disagree with most of what she said. Saying that she's sick and campaigning because she lost a race and is a sore loser, I do not agree with that. Any woman who had to come in second place to a man would not be happy about that. All right, people who say they would be okay with this usually don't compete. It's not uncommon for some out of shade fatty sitting at home spectating, who's critical of everything, to defend this and be like, oh, she's just a sore loser. Which is why I'm surprised Simone Biles is saying this, because she's a competitor. She's the freaking GOAT. So I'm used to people who don't do nothing, who've accomplished nothing, being critical, saying sideways stuff like this, because what do they know? Like they haven't the skill nor the nerve to go out and compete in front of the world or whatever. So that I think is kind of insane for her to say, and I was very surprised, because what female competitor wouldn't be upset about losing a spot to a man? He shouldn't even be there. She says perhaps find a way to make trans sports inclusive. That's not her job to do. She's a competitor. She's where she's supposed to be. It's not for her to be like, oh, well, why don't we put trans in their own category? And I think she may have said that before, that trans should have their own category or something like that. But it's not up to her to create that. She's a competitor. She's not the body that governs it all. Or creating a new avenue where trans feel safe in sports. Again, I love Simone Biles, so this is really disappointing. What about the women feeling safe in sports? What about that? Oftentimes when I hear people defending the trans community when it comes to their right to compete in sports and whatnot, they have nothing to say about protecting the women. And how does that work? How does that work? Where did it become okay where women lose their spot in sports to men? Where is the protection for the women that participate in the sports? They're supposed to just compete against a dude. Everybody knows the dude is gonna win, and just be quiet about it. I mean, really, I remember a few years ago, there was a high schooler. It was like two high school girls, and they complained about the fact that they had two trans athletes on their team. They were runners. Everyone knew those trans athletes were gonna always win, but nobody would say anything. They knew those two trans athletes were always gonna come in first and second, and everybody just looked the other way and not say anything about it. That's what I mean. Who protects the women? Who protects the girls? Like, that's just not, in my opinion, very realistic. She says, instead you bully them. No, simply stating that having a boy as your secret weapon is not fair to the other girls. We got to get out of this mentality where simply stating reality, referencing reality, observing reality is bullying. That just is insane, man. Riley Gaines responds saying, all the horrific sexual abuse Simone Biles witnessed and spoke out against caused by one man, yet she believes women should be forced to strip naked in front of men to validate a man's feelings. You know how many gold medals you'd have if you're inclusive, and she put that in quotes, dream came true? 0. Look, I'm not no super fan of Riley Gaines. I never even heard of her before the Leah Thomas situation, so it's not like I'm a Riley Gaines stan. However, when somebody right, I got to give credit where credit is due. Simone Biles, and this isn't something that is pleasant to talk about. Riley Gaines did get some flack for bringing that up, but I believe in this case, it was unfortunately necessary to reference that, because here you are, someone that suffered at the hands of a man being involved in women's sports. To me, they never should have had that male doctor. I mean, I don't know if you can champion to where for the female athletes you can only have a female doctor. I don't know if it's possible to get that, but the looking the other way about the trans athletes competing against women, to me, is akin to how they always look the other way about Larry Nassar. This man preyed on those girls for over 30 years. They always got complaints about it, and they always look the other way about it. I seen somebody claim that there's 20 trans athletes total competing, and why are people trying to act like they're taking over? First off, I don't believe it's only 20. And even if it were only 20, you have to stop stuff when it's a small problem, because if you don't, it becomes an even bigger problem. So looking the other way about this when it's small will lead to it becoming a bigger problem. People are like, well, why do you care? Why do you care? I care because I love sports. I enjoy competition, and I believe in the spirit of sports. You can't have a fair contest when you're putting men up against women. Divisions and weight classes, they exist for a reason. You have a couple people who chimed in, and I'm not going to read all of them, but I'll just read this one. She says, tearing down other women just to please men and their fetish isn't as progressive as you think. Your backward stereotyping and bullying isn't only disgusting, it's also wrong. Ironically, if you wanted to bully someone your own size, you'd have to fight Dobby the elf. That's in reference to Simone Biles said that she needs to pick on someone her own size, which ironically would be a man, which that's not true. Riley Gaines is tall for a woman, but she's not insanely tall. So this was a woman that was defending Riley Gaines to basically from the personal attack that Simone Biles had made at her. And someone has said they pointed out how different it was when Simone Biles was defending herself against abuse at the hands of men, and it showed a clip of her testifying in the Larry Nassar case versus her defending other women against the abuse of men, or no, I'm sorry, not abuse, against male predators. So how she defended herself against male predators, she's there testifying how she defends other women against male predators, and it had the screenshot of her attacking Riley Gaines. So it was a really bad look. Simone Biles, she's expecting, right? I don't think she's had the kid yet. She's expecting, man, that kid's gonna be amazing. It's got 2 pro athletes as parents. That kid's gonna be amazing at whatever it chooses to do. But they have to know, especially Simone Biles, if your daughter ends up competing against men, what happens there? You know, we all know what happens, but just a rhetorical question. And she wasn't wrong when she said your whole your dream of inclusive, your inclusive dream, if that came true, you'd have 0 medals. She not wrong, man. You know, so again, I'm saddened by this because I absolutely adore Simone Biles, and it always feels like it's prominent voices from my community that are defending stuff like this. And, you know, it just is really troubling. Many of these people who defend this stuff, when they know all of them, they all vote Democrat. But they haven't realized that this sort of stuff is why they lost. And why they'll lose next time, too, if they still own this stuff. If they still talking about letting boys into the girls' locker room, letting boys run track with girls, and all that, they're going to keep losing, because this was one of the things that Trump ran on. Like it or not, this is one of the things he ran on and won on. So I don't know. I think it's all fine and dandy, all that trying to be progressive, all that trying to defend trans. Here you are, a woman, which is very strange to me. You're a woman defending men annihilating other women in sports, and you're an athlete. I don't know about this, man. Again, I love Simone Biles, but I don't agree with her on this, man. So as I said to y'all earlier, it's okay to like a person but disagree with some of their sentiments. You don't have to drink down everything they serve in just because you may be a fan of theirs, you may be an admirer of theirs. So I'm gonna leave it there, man. Let me know what you guys think. Hit me with a like if you like what I do. Hit me with a sub if you like what I do. And hit me in them comments. I'm gonna holler at y'all. Peace.